There are a number of challenges associated with creating a schedule for your project. One of those challenges is achieving speed and reliability. So in order to achieve both speed and reliability, we want to make sure that we have a schedule that doesn't give us too much time to execute and implement tasks, but at the same time doesn't squeeze us into too little time to execute or implement those tasks. And we still want to try to achieve early finishes, since as a project manager or someone responsible for the outcome, it would be great if we could save costs and free up resources, both for the team, but also for us to be able to innovate and start to think about other considerations for our customers. Another challenge is that some project managers find it difficult to manage progress of the team once the team members start to become more self-organizing. This is especially true for team members that are just starting to understand the concept of self-organization, or that haven't worked in an Agile environment for long enough. Figuring out how to introduce the right buffers into your project schedule can be challenging, especially since once we try to introduce buffers, we start to see some phenomena occur. One such phenomena is Parkinson's law, which states that work expands to fill the time available. So that means if we actually allow for too much time for tasks or for a project, we can start to see that the work will actually expand to fill that time. That can manifest in procrastination or anything else that starts to cause us to take more time than is necessary to complete tasks. Also, Murphy's Law, which is that whatever can happen, will happen. With Murphy's Law, we start to expect delays, especially if we start to squeeze time and not allow enough time for projects or for tasks. And lastly, student syndrome. With student syndrome, this basically means that team members leave the work until the last possible moment, especially with tasks that are difficult or tasks that they haven't actually implemented before. This can cause delays that result in missed deadlines. So the question is, how do we introduce the right amount of buffer into our schedule that both protects our release date but also gives us enough time to complete tasks? When people start to introduce buffers into a project schedule, they can sometimes inadvertently cause additional problems by allocating too much work. When we allocate too much work to people, we hope to create a sense of urgency, but actually that strategy backfires. Instead of creating a sense of urgency and keeping everyone busy, we're more likely to miss deadlines and start to compromise the quality of our work because people are rushing to get done. There are, however, 4 common types of buffers that can be used effectively in Agile projects. The first such type are feature buffers. With feature buffers, we introduce a buffer into the implementation of each feature. So we add extra time than was originally estimated for the implementation of a feature. Another type of buffer is a project buffer. A project buffer is extra time added to the end of a project schedule that is intended to protect the release date. This extra time added to the end of the project schedule is supposed to protect us from any delays or anything that slipped along the way as we're implementing the project. Thirdly, there's a feeding buffer, which helps ensure that task or cross-team dependencies don't result in delays. A feeding buffer is very similar to a project buffer, but it's a buffer that gets introduced in between any types of cross-team handoffs. So if one part of the project is primarily being implemented by one team, and that team hands off to another team, we introduce a buffer in the handoff time. And lastly, we have a resources buffer. The resources buffer requires people and skills in place for longer than it's estimated they'll be needed. So for example, if we need somebody in place for a certain portion of the project, we'll add a certain amount of time to that original estimated time just to give some extra flexibility. In summary, there are 4 common types of scheduling buffers you can use in your Agile project. They are feature buffers, project buffers, feeding buffers, and resources buffers.